But the song that we're going to play to bring Moebius in, I promised a couple weeks ago that I would eventually play one of my tunes. This is a song called "Dark Places." It's not really the best recording that in the world. I mean, it's not a horrible recording. It's not like I put a tape recorder in the band room and hit play. This is something where I played everything on it and recorded it track by track. I just wasn't able to finish it. But it is a rap rock song, and you're going to hear me rap, but I couldn't find somebody that actually knew what they were doing to do the rap parts in it. So I did it myself. But the thing is, if I hadn't made the song a rap rock song, the song would have been 20 minutes long. So I had a lot to say in it. So we're going to take a break right now, and this song is my song, and it's called "Dark Places." I wrote the song back in 2002. We'll be right back with Moebius in about 5 minutes or so.
Pick up the phone, don't call me, just call me. November stage.
All right, welcome back to the Will and Thunder Show. That was me, William Telltale, from my song Barclay. You there, Thunder?
Actually, yes, I'm there. I've never heard that song before. I've known you for a long time. Actually, I'm fairly impressed with your rapping skills. I mean, I've known you a long time, and I know how truly white you are through and through. And you actually didn't do a bad job there. And actually, the song's really good. If you could take that, throw that back on your computer, and mix it down a little better. I mean,
well, I want to just re-record it. I want to just re-record it completely and get somebody that actually knows how to rap in there to do the rap part. But let's go ahead and bring our guest on. Mr. Moebius, are you there, sir?
Hey, can you hear me?
We do.
Howdy.
We hear you, Moebius.
How's
are
it
you
going,
there?
y'all?
Pretty good.
Yes, sir. How y'all?
What's going on, Moebius?
Well, enjoying a nice, cool night down in Florida. What's it like up there?
It's actually not bad today. Go ahead, Will. Tell us about your weather.
I think we're supposed to get down to about 35 tonight, which that's not that bad.
No, it's not.
But if 35, but it's been raining on and off for the past couple of days, so the humidity does the exact opposite of what it does, during the summer. If it's humid and cold, it feels even colder.
Yeah. It's beautiful out tonight, man. I had to stand outside because I couldn't get a signal in the house. I understand that.
Right. Which is amazing in this day and age in America that you can't sit in your own home and get cell signal.
Yeah, gosh, it's horrible. I was listening to y'all talk about the Malaysia thing. And they have a lot of different satellites that should be able to find this thing. They have satellites that can look for the movement of water underneath the Earth and everything else for hydrogeology. The GRACE, I think, is what they called it, NASA's GRACE satellite. And then I know that they were using those other ones to be able to look at temples and basically figure out where the ancient temples were in parts of India. So it seems strange that they couldn't find this thing.
Yeah, it's totally baffling to me. It's so Twilight Zone. It's amazing. I mean, in this day and age, I mean, as we said, you can read a piece of paper, a handwritten note from outer space.
It makes me wonder how well they can really see underwater. And if that's the case, then it's an issue of submarines out there.
Right.
Exactly.
But submarines are also when it gives off that sonar, supposedly that's really bad for whales.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all care about hippie stuff like that, but
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
I think that having a healthy environment actually keeps us healthier.
Oh, absolutely it does. I mean, without the environment, I mean, we're nothing. I mean, we're just a small piece of this big world, and we do more damage to it than we do help it by many means.
Well, I can't believe that all this talk about the GMOs and everything, it's killing the bees, and nobody even cares about it. So basically, the bees will probably be all gone, or their numbers so diminished that they can't really do anything. So basically, we're on a time clock. We probably got about 20 years left as a species. Because the bees are probably going to go in probably about 15 years.
Well, the bees, they're claiming that they know what it is. They claim it's a couple different pesticides. One of them is a fungicide. But whether or not we're willing to change our habits, we've made it so that it's either capitalism or communism ideology are the only ones, but we need something else because pure capitalism doesn't seem to be really healthy. It doesn't. Not have, it's like pure science doesn't have believe in a good or evil. It doesn't have ethics. It only looks for knowledge. Pure capitalism only looks for money. You got to balance it out with a bunch of different stuff. It seems that can almost like pull at each. I guess that's
be multi-productive.
Well, do you know what a tensegrity structure is? Buckminster Fuller and all that.
I do not.
Buckminster Fuller designed he actually built the geodesic dome in Montreal for the World's Fair. But it's a structure that maintains its integrity through tension. And our body is kind of like that because, say, for example, if you think about the muscles from your chest, the muscles from your back actually pull against them so that you can hold your chest upright and not collapse in, but you're also not collapsing out. It's a tug of war where neither side is allowed to win. Does that make sense?
And, well, I mean, and also, your body strengthens itself through exercising. If you just sit on your ass and do nothing, you're going to wind up becoming a jello mold and wind up weak as anything, and you'll wind up.
Right, but you can't let one muscle group become too strong. You can't let one muscle group become too weak. When we were at the height of the Cold War, in a lot of ways, I felt like it forced the United States to act more ethically. Occasionally, we would get outed for doing something really stupid and unethical, and occasionally the Soviets would get outed for doing something really stupid and unethical. But while they were fighting it out, they were forced to not act as unethical in public, if that makes sense.
I understand exactly what you're saying.
And by that, they were forced to behave better. And it worked. But since then, it looks like both parties have sold everybody down the river. The Democrats, I don't know if you know, Clinton gave away a major national seaport to China, and Bush tried to do it with the United Arab Emirates. And, their loyalties, the politicians' loyalties are not to the people. They're to money and their own interests.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's out of hand.
And this is actually something that I've come to start to realize over the past year or two. And it's basically all the people in the House of Representatives and the Senate, they're all just a bunch of wannabe tyrants and wannabe dictators.
Well, part of me says
well, there's a few good ones, but I would say for every one good one, there's 20 bad ones.
What would happen to us though if we were in that same job? That's what I have to ask myself, because part of me is like, I totally agree, and then part of me is like, but if I was in that situation, what would I be doing? You know what I mean? And
if we wound up in anarchy?
No, I'm just saying when I look at what they're doing, I have to ask myself, would I not be caught up in the same kind of bullshit?
Right.
Any other politician. Because if I'm that honest with myself, then I'm willing to step back and quit being as pissed off at them as I am, which is not easy, really.
Well,
but I have
true,
to.
but
if I'm going to try and at least.
You have people like Ted Cruz, who everything Ted Cruz does pisses off the Republicans, and it pisses off the Democrats too. I gotta think that he's actually trying to do the right thing in what he does, because it's pissing off everybody on both parties.
Because it pisses off so many people.
Yeah. And it's easy for me
I don't know if that's always a correct scale, though.
It's so hard nowadays. Well, I think things are so down the line right now with your stature and with a letter behind your name, and people are so caught up in that right now. Who's right and who's wrong? It doesn't matter who's in office, who's got the Senate. It's a pissing match. Between people who don't, some of the issues that they're debating, they'll never have to deal with.
Right.
You've got a pension, you've got health care. Healthcare.
We all know what the real problem with that one is. So, we all know that doctors are getting paid too much, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But, I mean, like, part of it is you step back, you look back in time, and you say, okay, doctors were getting paid in chickens.
Right.
Or they were getting paid in, but they were, like, the most respected person in town, but a lot of them probably also thought, hey, I'm surrounded by idiots. And so they made a deal with...
That changed when they stopped, went from being healers to being, drug dealers.
Well, I think more than that, it's when the AMA decided to help put restrictions so they could create a bottleneck so that there wouldn't be enough doctors intentionally. And so that eventually the position of doctor was going to be taken over by nurse practitioners and physician's assistants. See, I mean, like, I think they've been planning this all along.
Yeah, well, you can see that nowadays. I mean, you go to your local doctor's office, and most of it is, nurse practitioners or physician assistants. I mean, the doctor has...
You get 5 minutes tops with one of those guys, and then you might get 5 minutes with the doctor. But usually whatever the physician assistant or the nurse practitioner decides is bottom line. So really, they're just a lower-ranking doctor with no liability. Because that's why a lot of the nurse practitioners do it, is because they don't want the liability of being a doctor. They don't want people to be able to sue them for how much... I mean, certain doctors actually can do that as well by putting caps on how much their practice can make. They actually put a limit on how much they can be sued for malpractice-wise. I don't know if that's the same in every state, but I mean...
I think that's pretty much nationwide, but my wife works in healthcare, and it's crazy.
But, like, I'm a massage therapist, and in my other life, when I'm not Moebius, I'm a massage therapist, and one of the things behind licensure, I mean, it's supposed to protect the general public, but when was the last time you heard about somebody getting killed in a massage-related incident?
Exactly. You
know why that is?
Because it doesn't happen?
Because we hire the wolf, and the wolf knows how to dispose of bodies. Sorry.
I love it. Pulp Fiction reference in a serious conversation. I love it.
Supposedly it's supposed to protect people from prostitution, but, they don't really enforce a lot of the laws in regards to that even. I talked to some people with the Department of Health. I'm like, there's this place right near where I live that's known for being... They've been shut down a bunch of times. And I'm like, so why am I paying you guys every 2 years a ton of money to protect my license, which really the only reason for my license is so I can protect my right to make $60 to $180 an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, it's essentially doing what unions did, which is it creates a bottleneck of people who can do a service. And I know you don't like unions. I think that unions have their place. I think everything has its place. Unions have their place because we haven't got a workers' bill of rights. If you had a workers' bill of rights, it would have to be an international thing. And I haven't a problem with there being a one world government or an internationally. I have a problem with that. But at the same time, if everybody has the same basic rights, then that means you're not going to have, as soon as somebody gives a decent minimum wage, everybody fleeing to X country, because everybody's going to have to at least have the same basic living wage. I feel like that there should be somebody smarter than me, because my math sucks, that could be able to say, okay, well, this is the price of rent, this is the price of food, and if we tie all these things together, there's got to be a way to keep this as an equation that can fluctuate based on the price of X or the price of Y. And we can fix some of these prices, the way we fix any other price. I've talked to a lot of the older guys here that hang out at the cafe, and they think inflation is this construction by this Austrian dude, which is he loan basically the way that our banks loan more money out when the economy hurts. Right. But really, inflation is based on, hey, I'm not producing as much of this. These other countries are producing this much of this, but do I have something they want so that my currency retains its value? That's what inflation really is. Does that make sense? Or am I talking crazy?
I see. I can understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Okay. In Argentina, I don't know. Do you remember Perón? His wife is the one that you hear all about. Don't cry for me, Argentina.
Yes.
Well, he created some of the highest minimum wages their country saw, and then all the jobs started fleeing. Okay.
Well, yeah. In the United States, the unions, and the reason why it's always the unions that are behind all these pushes for like raising the minimum wage. The union salaries, the union wages are basically they're guaranteed to be a certain percentage higher than what the minimum wage is.
Yeah.
So basically, every time the minimum wage is increased, every single union worker gets a raise. Huh?
Well, now see, one of the things that Mexico, which is a communist country, did to try and resolve the issue that they felt with Argentina. Part of what happened with Argentina, though, it wasn't just one thing started raising prices. It was everything started raising prices because it was all being produced overseas, because you could produce it in other countries cheaper than you could produce it at home. Okay? So what in Mexico, when they decided to try and implement something like that, they had price fixing on certain necessity staple food items that the Mexican people eat, beef, flour for tortillas, that kind of thing. Tomatoes, lettuce. The thing is then nobody wanted to make those things.
Right.
Because they became the things that wouldn't make them the most money making. So there's got to be somebody smarter than me that can figure this equation out. Because I can see the math, I just can't make the math. Does that make sense? That you
can't make the math work. I do understand.
See how it's working out, but
right.
Because it shouldn't be that complicated.
Right. It shouldn't, but of course it is. I mean,
it's like
I think we made it more complicated than it needs to be.
Right. Exactly.
I suck at pool, but that's not because I can't see the angles of how to make the perfect shot. I just can't follow through and execute.
You're just trying to hit the ball at that perfect angle, and it's not going the way that you predict that it's going to. Yeah, I mean, is that, you've got to ask yourself that. Part of it is maybe I'm not seeing the math right, but at the same time, it looks like there should be a simple enough answer, because you can break things down into necessities and luxury.
Right.
Unfortunately,
I want to pause real quick. If you're listening and you want to call in, the number is 646-716-6135. We've got all of our lines are open right now, and just go ahead and call in if you want to talk with us. If you want to talk with Moebius, if you want to pick his brain, you want to pick our brains, but I would say that probably picking his brain is probably a better idea. Picking mine and others. But that number is 646-716-6135. Go ahead and call in, folks. Anyway, as you were saying.
I also told somebody to call in and talk about ebooks, because I found out something kind of interesting about ebooks. When they released 1984, the company that released it on ebook was Amazon, but they didn't actually have the rights to it. And so instead of telling people, hey, we didn't have the rights to this product, and could you bring it in and we'll take it off, they just pulled it off remotely, which they're not supposed to be able to do that.
Really?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
The implications for that are very Fahrenheit 451 for me. In that, if you have a book, it can't be changed, or at least not without manually changing it.
Right.
Whereas if you have an ebook, it looks like they could remotely alter it. You have a history book, maybe they'll do it Joseph Stalin, and next thing you know, the guys that are standing next to Obama aren't the guys that were standing next to Obama. He's replaced them with somebody else.
I mean, I'm
Bush or whoever, you know.
I'm reading the Prince by Niccolo Machiavelli right now, and I'm to kind of help me along, because I mean that's a long book. To help me along, I found an audio version of it on YouTube, and I'm just I'm reading as I'm hearing it at the same time, and I haven't. I mean, it's pretty much word for word. So basically, and what I'm using a Kindle to read it. So basically, the ebook and this audio book that I'm listening to at the same time, are basically on the same page, to coin a phrase, phrase. But you would think that when you first started talking about that, I thought you were going to say something that it was released with certain segments removed from it and whatnot. But in that case, we'd be in trouble. I mean,
no, they just removed the whole book.
Yeah. Well, that's better. That's better than removing the just certain parts of it, though.
I don't know. It seems to me that if they have the software to remove the whole thing, and they didn't tell anybody about it, and they weren't,
so they'd have the software to, right?
And they could have the software to do the other.
Exactly.
I mean, because what they do is they would just remove it and replace it with a cut version.
Right.
They would just remove the whole thing and then replace it with a castrated version, as it were.
Yeah, that's concerning. I mean,
okay. I see where you're going with this. Like maybe there's something. Actually, there's quite a few.
If you're reading your history book and suddenly it doesn't talk about X period of time anymore, because
right.
I mean they may have to take it all the way off the machine, but if they can take it all the way off, they can add something too. Which a lot of times you have software updates. It wouldn't be that hard.
Well,
and you wouldn't even think anything of it. I mean, you look at your tablet or your phone or what so have you, and it says Amazon update, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to get a 3.0 version. It'll be better. And you update it, and now what you thought you were reading has been changed. I mean, you would never know. I mean, it could happen that quick. I mean, that's the one issue with technology these days. It is that easy.
Well, I mean, as a guy who knew a bunch of hackers growing up, anything that's on the internet is not safe. There is nothing that can't be changed or messed with that's on the internet.
Right.
I mean,
that's the one great thing about
took over a satellite back when we were kids.
That's insane.
They were smarter than I, but the Legion of Doom.
I remember back in the day, numerous times just sitting with you at Denny's and just listening to you, and to find someone smarter than you that that's kind of hard to believe, but
it's just areas of intelligence. It's areas of intelligence and areas where we decide to apply our intelligence.
Exactly. I mean, that's just. I mean, it reminds you of the old movie War Games, right there. We're just going to hack into a satellite right here. Let's watch this. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
Except for in the future, you'll be able to get an AI to assist you.
Exactly.
I mean, that's what the Neuromancer books and all that were about, is they were having artificial intelligences help them hack systems. I actually had started as a kid writing the story where this person was actually riding piggyback on another human hacking a system with an artificial intelligence, because the way that the computers would respond to a human attack is they would actually project trauma, like mental trauma of psychological events. And so by having another human riding in there and not getting that data thrown at them of whatever horrible event they were deciding to throw at them, then that person could go and get the data and come out unharmed. The other person would have to go through whatever Zen state that they would enter into to try and wash their mind clean, as it were. I was a weird kid.
No, that's where movies come from, man. I mean,
now since then they've done stuff that touches on what I was talking about, and in a way, I don't really want to encourage that as a. That's why, you know, when you write stuff, you think, okay, well, am I creating a new technology? And if I create a new technology, how is somebody going to use it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and the proof's in the pudding on that one. I mean, if you look back in the day, and you look, as Will and I have discussed on this show before, look at Star Trek, all of the writing that they did and the technology that has come.
Oh yeah, people have been trying to implement the technology that was in that show for years. Robert Heinlein was, will actually go even farther back to 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Right.
Jules Verne. You know, they were just touching on some of the technology that he talked about in his books. With you know, and he also had space flight. But you know, the underwater cities that he talks about in his
submarines.
Books. Yeah.
Submarines.
Submarines. They had ironclads by that time, so it was at least touching on what was already out there.
I mean,
space travel was not at that time. You know.
Yeah. Guys, I'm gonna step off. I'm having issues with my computer. I will be back in just a minute or two. I'm having issues over here.
Okay.
I mean,
okay.
All I'm gonna do is mute myself while I fix this because I could.
Sounds good.
So I'll be right back.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally amazing. I mean, especially, and you look as far back as, you know, Jules Verne was writing to come up with some of these things, and then us implementing the technology to do that.
Heinlein, he made the waterbed. I don't know if you knew that.
I know, I did not know that.
Yeah. It was modeled after one of his devices that was set up to take pressure off people when they were going through extreme gravities.
Really?
Yeah.
It's amazing, you know, that, you know, the gravity thing, especially with spaceflight and everything, and now you're telling me with the waterbed, it's the same thing with today's beds with, you know, the memory foam and all that they use in the space shuttle for the same thing, you know, when they take off, you know, so it molds to their body and it's, you know, it's more comfortable, so to speak, you know.
Now, see, the next versions of the space shuttle, I want to see us have breakaway capsules and escape pods or safety pods. You know, like imagine how long we've had airplanes out. You know, with this airplane accident, and we still don't have a safety pod or any kind of, you know, because in spaceships you would have something like that.
Absolutely.
And we would, when I talked to some NASA guys back when the last shuttle that blew up. And they were like, oh, it would just cost too much money to redesign it that way. Because, you know, the cone a lot of times was intact.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
And so if it was intact, then they could have done something to make it so that it would be preserved, you know, like a parachute system like we did on the early rockets. And
exactly. I mean, have a detachment. I agree with you 100%.
But it seems to me like the way that we design airplanes, we could redesign those too to show that, you know, I mean, I see the way that we design airplanes now shows how little we really value life because of the fact that it's not built with any real practical safety measures.
Right. I mean, you shoot your flotation device and that's it. Well, I mean, if you hit the water at 700 miles an hour,
your head down in front of your seat.
Put your tray table up, bend down, and put your head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, and to me that says to me that they don't. It's not really that important to them. You know,
right. And they try and throw the data at you.
But then again, you know, it's something that's been around so long. It could just be that it's been around so long. Why mess with it? That's another attitude that you see with corporation people.
Oh, right, yeah, exactly. Why waste the money, you know? And people are going to fly anyway, so why put the money into it?
Right, but
why go that extra
if
step?
An airline that built in those kind of safety procedures, you would have a lot more people trust that airline.
Oh, absolutely.
They would say, hey, wait a minute, that airline is actually going above and beyond to try and save my ass if something happens.
Right. Well, that's like after that tsunami, the big tsunami over there in Japan. They've got new capsules now that you can have in your home. They're like a bubble. Got a watertight sealed door. It can be picked up and thrown in the air up to, I thought they said 150 feet or so. It floats. And like I live in the state of Tennessee. I live right in the middle of Tornado Alley, through this corridor where tornadoes come
and
up.
And I want one of those bubbles.
No, I mean, absolutely. I mean, look.
I want one. I mean, think about it. Think about it. I mean, you've got a Category 3 hurricane coming in. You could have somebody just as long as you had a transponder or something where people could locate you, just have people drop off.
Yeah, the GPS. Yeah.
You'd have to bulletproof the outside of it if you were going to.
Oh yeah. Yeah. But just drop you off in the ocean as that hurricane comes through, and screw a roller coaster. I'm going to go ride a hurricane.
Speaking of which, growing up in Florida. Yeah, growing up in Florida, one time there was a hurricane. It was just only a Category 1 hurricane, but I did ride the hurricane. I was big into skateboarding back then, so I went out there with a sheet, tied it to my ankle, used the rest of it as a sail, hopped on my skateboard. I was doing like 70 miles an hour through the parking lot of a apartment complex. Some of the most fun I've ever had.
Well, that it wasn't the brightest thing that you could do.
No, it wasn't, but it was fun. I mean, and I was a kid back then, so.
I still have an old school Tony Hawk skateboard. When I was living on the streets in Atlanta, I traded poetry for somebody's skateboard deck. I traded somebody else poetry for their independent trucks, and I got some bullet wheels and some Swiss bearings, and I put together this great skateboard, which, of course, once I got on it, would not roll. Because I guess I'm a fat bastard. But I have this old school Tony Hawk board, which of course I painted with my art. So one of my friends is like, "That's an original Tony Hawk board. You ruined it." But it's got my art on it, so I think it's wonderful.
That's awesome.
I still can't skate.
Well, tell us. Speaking of your art, your books and everything, tell us about that. Where can people get that stuff?
Well, my book is out at Barnes & Noble's, and also you can get it by Amazon. My publisher says that he thinks that Amazon, he says their sales don't go up during the winter time, so he's suspicious. Because there's no accountability for online publishing. With doing print on demand, the sales you don't see a spike come Christmas time, whereas with his other distributors, he does see it goes up.
Right, so
it makes him because with print,
exactly. Okay,
he does print on demand. He prints like 1,900 titles, and I'm one of the last 4 living people that he's printed. One of them was Roger Lasney, although he's dead. Michael Moorcock, Harlan Ellison, and me are like the 4 last living people that he's printed. And how I fit in with science fiction, really, I mean, my book's not really all that science fiction-y. It's poetry, which, although there is one short story scene in the middle of the book that's about cloning and multiple personality disorder and torture, but that's totally different. And there are also 3 pieces about zombies.
We do more often than we like.
Hey, Will.
Hello?
I'll be right back. Yeah, I've got something going on with my connection here.
Uh-oh.
Okay. All right. I'm going to mute it, and we'll check back in 90 seconds.
Right.
Okay.
My book's called Are There Zombies in Heaven, but there's only really 3 pieces about zombies, actually, in the book.
That's a great title, though. Are There Zombies in Heaven? And
I was writing a zombie book at the time that I came up with it.
Yeah. Well, is this your only work that is published? National.
Storm Constantine published a book of my stuff called Disenchantments in the UK, which I don't think you can get anywhere. And then there's also, I used to put out stuff myself for many years. I still occasionally will put out some of those books. I've seen a copy of A Leper's Paradise in 3D for sale for $75 online. I haven't seen any of my other books on sale though. I mean, I thought that was kind of weird.
Somebody was charging $75 for your.
Yeah, they wanted. I charged $25 $20 when I originally made the book because I actually hand bound all of them. I put a color cover that I laminated. And I stapled it and put a tape binding kind of thing over top. It was pretty rugged, for a street publication that was perfect bound, You weren't going to see a lot of perfect bound is that square back binding,
Right.
So it actually looked like a square back binding, except for it was hand put together on the street, so it was not exactly the typical. And then my other stuff were chapbooks. I did if you look at an 8.5 by 11 sheet and fold it over, I did some books that size, and then I also did some books that were really itty bitty tiny. You can fit them in the palm of your hand. I did Menthol Smokers Aren't Human, Daddy Please Don't Burn Me with Cigarettes Anymore, The Real Reason Cops Eat Donuts, Redheads Eat Their Young. I put out 50 titles that size. But when you're living on what?
I'm going to try to bring Thunder back in and see if he got his issue worked out.
Okay. Thunder!
You there, buddy?
Thunder!
You there, Thunder? He's not, but I'm going to leave his mic open, so all he has to do is say hi when he comes back.
Okay.
Anyway, now, your books, are they mostly short stories, poetry, and whatnot, or have you written?
They're mostly poetry, but do you want to play a couple tracks of the spoken word stuff so that way people can? Yeah,
actually, yeah. And with Thunder being down right now, it's probably the perfect time to do it.
Right.
I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to play the Mal one. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, it's the Mal mix that James Lewis and Dave Adams did the music on. James Lewis is from a band called Space Seed that was in Atlanta, and is actually still in Atlanta. Back in the late '80s when I was living on the streets.
Space Seed.
Space Seed. SPACE SCED. They were a Hawkwind tribute band, but they have a lot of their own material too. They're pretty good. You should check them out.
All right. Well, and what is the name of that?
The piece it's Mal Be Not, and with music in the background by James Lewis and Dave Adams.
Okay, because I have a different title on it.
It has Moebius Remix, I think, is what James put on it.
Right. Well, this is Mal Be Not by Moebius here, and we will be right back in a few minutes. Hopefully, we'll have a Thunder too. We'll be right
Thunder's back, man. I'm here listening. I'm back again.
Okay. Well, we're still gonna play this piece.
I understand.
so we're still gonna mute you and put it on a break.
That's fine. Go ahead, man.
All right.
It ends on a loop, so you're forewarned.
Yeah, it looks like, well, I don't think it's on a loop here.
Okay.
How long is the piece?
I don't know.
Because I'm seeing 4 minutes and 25 seconds here. Does that sound about right?
It actually loops. James set it up to loop at the end of it, and so that way if somebody set it up so it would play and just go on. It's really neat the way he did it. So and plus Moebius, the Moebius strip. Never mind. Okay, never mind.
I think I've got it. I'll pay attention now. We'll be right back on the Will and Thunder Show. This is Malby Malby Not by Moebius.
Malby Malby Not. Mal's birthday's only a day away. A madman, many folks would say, who hurled Molotov cocktails in his day at Mandarin and ministers. Maybe he was merely Machiavellian, murdering to mollify the masses. His strategies like some Mahjong games, metaphors manifesting bleak impasses, had as the muntjac mingled amidst the mountains to escape the mantra of munitions. This helped not a monarch mute beneath, from the carob sashes of a magi who feed his emperor on ashes. For mechanical in his precision, his maestro unto murder, marshaled men to gravest sin, and made momentary the monuments that mouth the mummery of government. And without mourning or a modicum of mercy, the mold of an empire that had lasted a millennium was ensnared in murk, so a man without modesty could win his place at court. Malby Malby Not. Malby Malby Not. Malby Malby Not. Mal's birthday's only a day away. A madman, many folks would say, who hurled Molotov cocktails in his day at Mandarin and ministers. Maybe he was merely Machiavellian, murdering to mollify the masses. His strategies like some Mahjong games, metaphors manifesting bleak impasses, had as the muntjac mingled amidst the mountains to escape the mantra of munitions. This helped not a monarch mute beneath, from the carob sashes of a magi who feed his emperor on ashes. For mechanical in his precision, his maestro unto murder, marshaled men to gravest sin, and made momentary the monuments that mouth the mummery of government. And without mourning or a modicum of mercy, the mold of an empire that had lasted a millennium was ensnared in murk, so a man without modesty could win his place at court.
Welcome back to the Will and Thunder Show. That was Malby Malby Not by our guest here, Moebius. Now, Moebius, you didn't tell me that I was going to get a history lesson.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm a history major, so.
No, I was wondering what Mal being Mal be not was, was all about, and when just based off of the title and everything, and yeah, it was basically a brief synopsis of who the guy actually was. It's interesting that you called him Machiavellian. And
hey, man, I think he was a very intelligent man. I think that a lot of revolutionaries don't consider the cost of human life, and they put it forth an endeavor, and then it kills a bunch of people just so that they can be the one who's the top dog. He was just switching the position of the folks who were on top with himself.
Well, I've only read
Revolution.
I've only read half of one of Machiavelli's books, only one of his books. So
well, he talks about injustifies the means and stuff like that, and as a person who was adopted, the moniker of Moebius Machiavelli, as well as some of the other. Well, I've adopted, I guess, many monikers, you could say, but having adopted Moebius Machiavelli for one of them, you learn the negatives about the person as well as the positives.
Right, and I'm really intrigued and really digging the Prince by Machiavelli, and I bought that book. I bought his book called The Art of War, and these are the e-versions, and I also got there was another one. And I can't remember the title of it, but it's another one where he talks about about politics. I don't know if he talks about anything else because, like I said, I'm new to the man. But
well, the Prince is more of a treatise on how to be a good leader, and not to be swayed by having it be a popularity contest.
Right.
That, and that yeah, you want to be popular, but just because you're loved doesn't mean they won't kill you. Because
right.
If they're afraid of you, they're not going to try and kill you. Whereas if they love you, then tomorrow they can hate you. But if they're afraid of you, they're going to still be afraid of you tomorrow, which is, where Mao and Stalin, I think, actually applied that. Stalin was even probably more so than Mao in some ways,
okay.
Although Stalin's death toll was less than Mao.
Now I get the comparison. Now I get that after you explained it. Okay, that makes sense. I can see that, even though I'm only half a book into the philosophies and the beliefs of Machiavelli. It's interesting. It's interesting stuff, people, and you can get it on Amazon. Do it. It will. It'll make you look at things in a different way.
Well, I mean, you balance it out with some other stuff that's not quite so embittered. I mean, he was living in a pretty dark time. We're actually in a, I tell this to you, we're actually in a really prosperous time. When you compare the different revolutionary periods of the world with our time now, we're not suffering like those people were.
Oh, absolutely. If you ask somebody that lived, say, 200 years ago, and lived in poverty, and showed him one of the nastiest houses in the ghetto that we have today, they would be perfectly happy with it and love it like they were in a mansion.
Well, I mean,
absolutely.
They didn't have indoor plumbing until the 1900s, I think it was.
Right.
And I've actually seen outhouses. Of course, I've also seen the fig leaf method as well. Where you go out in the woods with a fig leaf, or fig leaves plural.
Well, you don't. I haven't told you. I haven't told you so, but I lived out of a car for an entire winter, years back. So I kind of know.
I lived out of cars. I lived on rooftops. I've couch surfed. Couch surfing is on par one of the best places to go, but like you do what you got to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was reading something not too long ago that the state of poverty in the United States, the consideration of poverty is to have only 2 TVs,
right.
2 bedrooms.
Well, they're saying that 15% of Americans live in poverty, not including foreign-born folks who are here.
Right.
And you got to also consider that my only issue with people who are coming from other countries is that I think that if you're coming here, you should agree that you should decide, I'm staying here, that this is my country now. If you're not going to do that and be committed to joining in, becoming part of the culture, then that's where I have issue.
I agree 100%. Yeah, I have no problem with people coming to this country. That's what it was based off of. Bringing your sick, bringing your needy.
We're mostly immigrants.
And mine too. My grandfather's parents came from Ireland over here.
Yeah, at college they had I went to a pre-professional medical group, and they had somebody complaining about medical care for immigrants, and I go, okay, well, I have a question, and I stood up and looked around and said, how many of you don't have grandparents that were immigrants?
Exactly.
Or great-grandparents. Because usually it's within a couple generations that that folks have come over here, and they forget that. Or what's funny is I met this guy who was old school Soviet colonel, or at least he claimed he was an old school Soviet colonel. I don't know. He had the fake Soviet accent still going on, or maybe it was a real Soviet accent by this point. But he was totally adamantly against immigrants. And I'm like, dude, you're an immigrant.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not from here. You're an immigrant. So you're telling me you're against immigrants, but you're an immigrant.
Can I?
One of the great things I've ever heard from a comedian.
I'm sorry, sure.
Go ahead, Will. Go ahead.
Talk on.
I wasn't there in that class, obviously, but the thing I have a problem with, I don't have a problem with somebody coming in from Italy or hell, even Mexico, so long as they follow the proper channels, pay taxes and everything. What is it possible? What these guys were talking about, because there have been these people that come in, they work under the table, they pay no taxes, and then they get free health care. Is that is that what you were talking about?
What if they want to move here? What if they want to move here, but they at that point have not got the ability to do they didn't come here legally, but they want to be legal? Would you be okay with that?
Yeah.
See, because my thing
is expensive to come. Even as expensive as our health, once again we've gone back to healthcare. As expensive as our healthcare is, okay. I went in with a kidney stone one day. I knew I had a kidney stone. I told them I had a kidney stone. They did a CAT scan. They charged me $8,000.
Right.
Here's the thing is, I've had CAT scans before. They did not cost me. They cost me $200. So by going into the emergency room, because it's an emergency, which that emergency room had just as many people as that place that CAT scan place had. But because it was the emergency room, then suddenly they're multiplying the price of service by that much. That's bullshit.
Absolutely.
That's
why when you're in the hospital.
I'm American. I have no problem with people walking away with money in their pocket. I'm a Catholic.
Oh, I mean either. But you have to be a realist. You have to be a realist too. I can go to the corner drugstore or the dollar store and buy a whole bottle of 325 milligram aspirin. Okay, for $2.
Okay,
I was in the hospital not too long ago, and they charge you $30 an aspirin.
Yeah.
Have
you ever gone to a concert where it starts raining and somebody starts selling plastic bags for $5?
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
I have no problem with them charging. I have no problem with them charging a quarter, 50 cents, a buck I struggle at, because then I feel like there's a point where you're taking advantage of the people around, and nobody has this like ethical thing that says, okay, where is an ethical cutoff?
Right.
You know what I mean? There should be an ethical cutoff of, hey, okay, yeah, I've only got so many of these bags, so I'm going to make how much ever money, I'm going to make $100 selling these at $1 a piece. Okay, I mean, but there should be a point
good for
where
you. You're an entrepreneur, but when you exactly when you're gouging people and you're taking advantage of somebody, that's where it should end.
And just be a place that's fair, so that you're treating people how you want to be treated, and they talked about like if there was. Say again?
I said that's so lost in our culture nowadays. I mean, I remember watching, my grandparents, you'd hanging out with their friends. There was more of an ethical code there, the way that they held themselves. They respected themselves more than that.
Though, man. Street people.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't know about everywhere, but when I lived in a place called Little Five Points in Atlanta, people looked out for each other. Now, it got a little out of hand occasionally. Saying
that it got a little bit out of hand, there is, I mean, that's like, if it got a little out of hand there, I mean, that's going to make the news. But the 30 cases of domestic abuse that came out from the from the regular neighborhoods and stuff like that, where everybody.
Well, that's the thing, is our neighborhood. Like, if we found out somebody was beating up somebody's girlfriend, a bunch of people would talk to him about it. And,
right. You took care of it.
And it, it was strange because there was this one guy who was harassing local girls. So he touched this one girl who was 14, and then he went after this other girl that I knew, and also my girlfriend. He started harassing her. And I went after him one year, and a whole mob of people surrounded him, and then the police showed up. And the police took him off and later let him go, and it turned out that he was like a narc for them. But he was attacking local girls and able to get away with it because of the fact that he was a snitch.
Wow. See, that's wrong. That's
and
wrong.
Then some friends of mine went after him with a cement block and hit him upside the head.
But you
karma strange how it works. Sometimes you stub your toes, sometimes you get hit in the head with a brick. That's karma for you.
But, I mean, we had a good neighborhood. We had a lot of people that, we would feed each other. And part of that, was also benevolent self-interest. If you're looking out for your peers are going to look out for you. They all know that, hey, we're all in this together. And we had I don't know, I've never encountered anything like it anywhere else in the world.
It's funny. It's funny how people who are well-to-do don't know their neighbors like that.
Right.
You don't see these. I remember as a child having, block parties and stuff where, you knew your neighbors, you knew who they were. In today's society, nobody talks to anybody.
Comparatively, yeah.
Comparatively, exactly. But, you're in a situation where you're on the streets and everybody's looking out for the best interest of the person next to them. Because if I scratch your back, you're going to scratch mine. If I end up with a cheeseburger and I give you half, next week when I'm starving and you have a cheeseburger, you're going to give me a part of it. It makes so much sense.
Changed that somewhat.
Oh, absolutely.
People getting enmeshed in drug culture changed that somewhat. But even then, I always tried to do the. There's this one guy I see him every time I'm in Little Five Points, and one day he ripped me off for like $25. I won't say over what. I just told him, I was going to let other people know that he was a bunk artist, and that if that was how it was going to run, then he would just find that he wouldn't have anything to make a living on. And he actually made it straight. some people you can't do that with because they don't care.
Exactly.
And I mean, you know, also some of the kids that I knew growing up, you know, they came from really, really harsh backgrounds where the streets was better than home. And you know, it was one of those kind of things where it was an out for them, and it was better than what their home life was. But then, of course, if any of them got in trouble, they were a lot of times stuffed in jail, and it transformed them not for the better, because the system was set up to help these kids. It was either to put them back in the house that they were getting beaten up in, or to send them to jail where they were going to get worse shit happening to them.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
we don't do rehabilitation anymore.
No, we don't. It's incarceration or.
Well, that's
we're not as compassionate as far as all that.
Well, that's because we have too many people serving, you know, like multiple year sentences for having a bag of weed and stuff like that. I mean.
Well, some of the time I think also with that, you know, is that was the only thing that could get those people on for that particular crime. I don't know. I think it depends on a case-by-case basis.
Absolutely, of course it does. But I mean, there is a lot of.
But I mean, if we're going to start legalizing, then they need to start freeing those people. I mean, it needs to happen.
Oh, absolutely. You know,
well,
in
Colorado and Washington State, once the law went into effect, all the people that were in there on minor, you know, marijuana charges were released.
Really?
According to the news story that I read.
Interesting.
Well, I haven't heard that myself either, but
Atlanta, Georgia is talking about legalizing, and Florida's talking about legalizing.
Did you read something different?
No. I'm just curious. You know, I didn't hear anything about it. You don't hear about stuff like that.
Oh,
I mean, have you heard anybody being released in California for?
I mean, exactly.
The system doesn't like to let go of things that it has.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's almost like a creature that eats and it doesn't want to give up its snacks, and we're snacks. Florida's privatized. I don't know if you guys knew that. Florida's started privatizing their prisons.
In Tennessee, a lot of the prisons are privatized.
Well, supposedly
there's a company,
and I haven't verified this one, but supposedly Rick Scott had a bunch of stock in the companies that were privatizing Florida, and he gave it to his wife before the elections. I have not been able to verify that. Maybe y'all could verify that one for me.
Well, we'll have to look into it, absolutely. But the big company here in Tennessee is they were in the news not too long ago. I can't remember the exact story, but it's the company's called CCA. And that's probably the same company that's going into Florida. They're one of the biggest prison companies in the country.
Well, the other thing you don't hear about is all the monopolies popping up in all the different industries, too. Like with massage therapy, a couple of years ago, Massage Warehouse got bought up by another of the big providers of the TheraBand and all that. So it's all under one big company, like almost all the massage supplies you get. I hear the funeral industry is the same way.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, you have little mom and pop places here and there, but the majority
a lot of the little mom and pop places were being bought out and asked to keep their previous name. And
just to keep it under the radar.
Right.
Yeah. There's a big stink here in Tennessee, especially in Memphis right now, with funeral homes and graveyards and unethical behavior they're doing.
Disposal.
Oh yeah, and multiple graves in the same plot, and I mean it's horrible.
Multiple bodies in the same coffin. I've heard of some stuff like that in Georgia.
That happens all over the place. I heard of.
Well, I mean, look at how much they're charging for that stuff too, though. I mean, that's another industry where Really? I can't give you $150 for a box?
Right, exactly.
Right.
I mean,
a pine box. You can't give me a pine box for $150.
Well, like,
oh no, it's got to be certified by OSHA or you know.
Well, like
really,
cremation, for example. I mean, that's like $5 or $6 grand or something like that. Does it really? I mean, you know, I can understand that it uses a lot of fuel to.
No, I mean, natural gas is not that expensive.
Which
and we've got a lot of it in this country.
Which brings us back to zombies. Having proper zombie protection in your vehicle. I have an SUV and I carry a Scottish Claymore, 5'11".
That's taller than I am.
Hey man, it's a great sword. It actually does not have an edge.
5'11". The sword is not 5'11". He's 5'11". Thunder.
No, my sword is 5'11".
Oh wow,
my sword is 5'11".
His Claymore is 5'11".
I have a picture of it on my Facebook somewhere.
Hold on, give me
it's
one.
Awesome.
Give me 1 second.
Look.
I got.
The next time I come down to Florida to visit my family, I'm gonna have to catch up with you because I want a picture with his sword. I'm gonna stand holding the hilt with the tip on the ground, reaching up. That's gonna be awesome because the name Thunder, which was given to me by a good friend of Will and I'm called the Thunder Midget, and a Thunder Midget needs a 5'11" Claymore.
Yeah, it was made by I should do a plug for the blacksmith. The sword was made by Starfire Forge, who for many years was doing the Atlanta Renaissance Festival. So
I think that I think that I have a picture of you with that sword on the slideshow for the link to the show.
Really? Okay. I
think
also have
I do.
2 scimitars. They're shorter. I used to when I was living in Little Five Points. Yeah, when I was living in Little Five Points, we would have fencing matches, and then occasionally I would bring out my scimitars because they were heavier swords. If you know how to fence, you can usually hold off somebody who doesn't know how to sword fight, especially since if you're swinging one-handed, you're not going to have the strength to. If you swing two-handed, it's like a baseball bat against a baseball bat, and you can hold off somebody who doesn't know how to sword fight, but it's still pretty dangerous. Whereas one-handed, you can still make it manageable. But I had this one guy that I knew. He told me, he had kept 2 katanas on him while we were out living on the streets, and I said, "Well, man, I got 2 swords that are better than your swords. And I bet you still can't fight me against my sword." And so I handed him these 2 scimitars, they're about 5 pounds, and they're maybe 2.5 feet long, maybe 3 feet. They're a pretty solid piece of metal. 1095 high carbon steel, some of the strongest metal that you'll be able to forge. And he's like, wow, he's holding on to them, and I'm like, so you ready? And then I pulled out the Claymore. and see, the way I treat a Claymore is like it's a big metal spear. Because if you point it like it's a spear and you sink with your weight into it, they can hit it all they want, but they're not going to be able to knock it out of the way. You just go around it. And it's scary to have a piece of metal that big pointing at you. Because
bringing up the Claymore and everything. I'm sure you know the history behind it as well.
It was for fighting cavalry, the British cavalry.
Well, it would also come in handy in a hand-to-hand situation. Now, hear me out. If you use it more like a bow staff with a blade.
Yeah. Oh no, I understand. The thing about using it as a bow staff is once you let them past a certain point, then they've got another weapon, it becomes more dangerous for you. That's why I always keep them in front of that point, because as long as they're in front of that point, the only way they get past it is on the tip of it.
Skewered
like a marshmallow.
With a bow staff, you're letting them in close to you. And that's part of it.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be that friendly with them.
Sorry?
I'm letting them know that the way
you're
I'm
trying
fighting
to
with
kill
it,
me,
you're not going to get
I want to
that.
keep you as far away from me as
far away
possible.
as possible.
I don't want to have to hurt you, but if you're dead set on hurting me, then you can know what it's like to be a marshmallow.
There you go.
I mean, really, I'm a friendly guy.
I'm a friendly guy. I just know how to kill you.
Well, I mean, with that weapon, it's hard not to be able to do that. I mean, like,
oh, absolutely.
If you pay attention to what you're doing with it, you can, swing it. I can swing it, and like if you were in the zombie apocalypse, you could be taking out a bunch of zombies at the same time. But having it as a spear, it has its own, uses too.
Absolutely.
What was Mel Gibson's sword in Braveheart? That was a
Claymore.
Well, they were supposed to have claymores. I don't know if they actually. I'm trying to think of if I saw claymores in Braveheart. I'm sure that they must have.
The one in Braveheart, William Wallace. That was a claymore, wasn't it?
I'm trying to think of what he was using in the movie. I mean,
it was probably around 5 foot, and it had the left.
You'd think he'd have a claymore, but I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember. It
was
been so long since I've seen that movie.
Everything about it
was leather wrapped on the.
Everything about it was a claymore, except the handguard area where on a claymore it's V-shaped. It was straight.
T-shaped, yeah. Yeah, but it still had the leather wrap on the blade, on the bottom of the blade, and.
Well, and you also got to figure that, and people, I've heard people say, that's not a claymore because blah, 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 It's like, well, you got to figure that probably blacksmiths were also messing around trying to do their own thing, just like car manufacturers and other people are now in their
shoe manufacturers, car manufacturers, whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
yeah, that's true.
Actually, the best example would be if you're in South America. Supposedly, they can, if you break down, they can actually make the part by hand at a machine shop.
Nice.
And so that's how, instead of ordering the expensive part, they hand make it at a machine shop.
Well, I remember when America used to do that.
Well, we used to do that, but we don't do that as
I
much.
know.
It's more gone to South America and places like that do that now. It's interesting. But
we were talking about technology earlier.
Yeah.
These 3D printers where you can actually produce products like that yourself. I mean, you could actually use 3D printers depending on the material you're using.
Supposedly we're not there yet. For engineering, supposedly we're not there the way we need to be yet. Because of the amount of precision you need with a lot of engineering. But you got to figure it's going to happen eventually.
Oh, absolutely.
Let's take another break real quick so we can play some more of the Moebius spoken word material. Any favorites? I mean, any favorites?
Well, what kind of vibe are you looking for?
I don't know. I was thinking.
Tears and Grease Paint is a really creepy one.
See if I have that. I don't have that one. I have Love is Like Roof and All.
Love is Like Roof and All.
That's a deep one.
Cognitive implants. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff there. I mean, play a couple tracks if you want to.
We're gonna do Love is Like Roof and All, Cognitive Implants, and let's see which. When Her Eyes.
Okay.
We'll start with When Her Eyes.
Okay.
And we'll be right back in a few minutes on the Will and Thunder show with our guest Moebius. I'm finding this intriguing. How about you, Thunder?
Absolutely, man. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
It is reminiscent. I'll tell you that much.
Yes, sir. All right, we'll be right back. This is called When Her Eyes, and it's a spoken word piece by our guest Moebius.
When her eyes met mine. I stopped being good at being fast years ago and became committed to being easy rather than being alone. Ironic that the record turns and returns back right where we left. Fractal of your blue eyes. And here I am. I told you I wouldn't put out unless you put a ring on my finger, but here I am buried in your mouth up to my spine, and you holding my gaze. It seems like all reality is an equation defined in that moment, and you start to look away, but I say, no, don't. I've never actually done that before. I know my touch cannot throw open the doors to my dreams for you. We are merely sharing a screaming, moaning, sobbing, triathlon moment of porn star telemetries, where fantasy and fear of commitment, horror and true love all meet up and hold hands.
Cognitive implants. Part 1. The words flow across a screen. A speech in gestation squirms within those arachnoid spaces, seeking confirmation, and I pray you can give it. I am so tired of fork-tongued double entendres, players of self-flagellating demagoguery, presenting succulent sound bites vetted against meaning so that game theory ground fighting will extend to all feeling, faith, pride, or truth. Better that we let all politicians find their way off-planet as imminent disaster encroaches, as their colony ship drifts away. I feel safer already. Love is like Rufinol. You don't need to remember what happened the night before, or any night. Okay, so love's better than Rufinol. You don't need to unwrap the sheets like your naked body has been prepared with flowers and scented oils to go west of the Nile, even if it does feel like they might have cut out your organs to stuff them in vases. As you sidle your legs together before a clot comes free and out gushes the night's flavor, still acidic and reeking of nicotine. Love is worse than Rufinol, because you can't just pretend to forget or lie to yourself like a blister. Love is right on the surface.
All right, welcome back to the Will and Thunder Show. Right off the bat, Thunder, what did you think about that stuff?
Man, I wish I could write that well.
So you liked it then?
Absolutely.
I liked it too. I mean, I like Love is like Rufinol. I mean, that's why I chose that one in particular to play on the show. Cognitive implants. I like that one too. I didn't really get to hear it because I was trying to multitask at the point, but you know, it sounded like you were basically taking a swipe at these politicians that think that they want to rule that think that they're qualified to rule our lives. Now, if I'm way off, tell me.
Say that one more time.
It seemed like you were taking a shot at these elected wannabe dictators that think that they know what's best for our lives.
Yeah, well, I was basically convinced the powers that be that there's a apocalypse coming, and then ship them off.
And then what?
Letting them think that they got one over on us.
And then let them set sail.
Nice. Now there was it said part 1 on that one. Cognitive stage part 1. Where can we find part 2?
It exists.
Is it all right if I put your Moebius Machiavelli Facebook page on the?
Yeah, sure.
I assume you have more than one Facebook page, right?
Yeah, I have my.
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and put your the Moebius Machiavelli page onto the page for this for the show here. That way people can add you. They can talk to you and everything. But
I have a fan page for.
I'm sorry.
Always wanted to start. Never had the money to actually come into being, which is Streaming God Productions. Because that's what I used when I put out my books on the streets. That's what I would do it under, is Streaming God Productions.
What productions?
Streaming God Productions.
Oh. There's some background noise. What is that? Is that you, Thunder?
It's us talking. Sorry, let me shut that off.
Oh.
Sorry. I just realized I was doing that. Oops. Reverb.
Reverb. Just delay. Okay, so people can buy your stuff on the on Barnes and Noble, and I'm looking at the page now, and that is there. Our Zombies in Heaven. That link is on the show page.
And I encourage people to review it, even if they hate it.
I'm gonna review the book.
Even if you hate it, review it.
Even if I hate it, and I'm going to be brutally honest with you if I do hate it, and that's stepping out of my comfort zone, because I've said on the show before, I have a policy of, if I don't like something, I don't review it. So
I just try. I've tried to get people to review it, even like if they hate it, to get on to YouTube and make a video of them burning it in front of a public building.
That's awesome.
I've even offered a reward in Pabst Blue Ribbon for them to do this, and thus far no one has taken me up on it. I have actually upped the ante today. I sent a tweet to Juliette Lewis, the
actress.
Yeah, I sent her a tweet and said I would pay her in Guinness to review my book.
Really?
But the thing is, what I'd really like is to get a video of someone dressed up as and I made a list of things that they could dress up like. One, Nationalist Socialist, fundamentalist religious group. You never see fundamentalist rabbis burning a book. I'd be okay with that. Dress up as a fundamentalist rabbi, say that you hate my book and burn it in front of a public building, or dress up as a atheist, burn my book in front of a public building.
How does one dress up as an atheist?
I don't know, but wait, no, I do know. You wear glasses. You gotta wear glasses so that you look very intellectual, and very skeptical of everything. You have to look very skeptical.
And have a T-shirt that says Darwin rules.
And have Richard Dawkins rules. if they want to do that, have them go that route. If they want to dress up as a bunch of ladies in burqas and pretend like it's offensive to Muslim women, that would be, it's fine. I just, just something different, like I'll pay them in beer. I'll give them beer, and if their particular video gets the most hits, then I will actually double them out to. I'll give them like five Guinness, and then if they're the most popular, I'll give them another 5 Guinness.
Now, what if I do this? What if I do this?
I was thinking the same thing.
What if I do this and get arrested?
And you get arrested, then I will. If you get arrested and you get a video of getting arrested doing this, then I'll give you a case of Guinness.
Well, actually, I'd rather have 2 cases of Bud Light. It would cost about the same as 1 case.
2 cases of Bud Light? Okay, done.
I'll stick with Irish beer. I'll go with Smithwick's instead of Guinness. But
okay,
yeah, I mean,
Schmittix.
All right. So Will, we have to do a split video of me dressed up in a burqa.
You got to do your own video. Come on now.
No, do your own video.
I'm paying cases of beer.
Okay.
You can do separate videos.
Absolutely.
Come on.
Good deal. I'll figure something out. I'm going to dress up like that guy from the Westboro Church and burn the book.
Okay. How about as a radical Wiccan, you could wear a fake beard and have a bunch of hippie chicks around. Y'all could all be wearing Druidic robes. And
exactly, and the big, spiky eyebrows, and
yeah.
I've already
dress up like the bad guy from Flash Gordon, and that'll be my evil Wiccan.
I've already got an idea of what my costume would be, and it would fall into the ironic category.
Okay.
This is awesome. I'm going to do this. I don't know how long it's going to take me to do it, but I'm going to definitely do this, and I'm going to post it on my new YouTube page, and that's
so it has to be in front of a public building.
Right.
Okay, good deal. I wonder how much I'll get in trouble for spray painting a. My brain just stopped working right there. That's not the first time that's happened.
Moebius Machiavelli.
I live in small town USA. So me spray painting a upside down cross and a star in the middle of the road and burning a book right there, and when it says Moebius must be stopped, that'd be fantastic. Oh Lord, they would never let me out of jail. Look, I swear to you right here, you have no idea.
Hold on. I have to make an announcement. We're nearing the end of regulation time, and we're going to be going to overtime. And we're not going to. But those of you that are listening online, if you want to hear the overtime segment once it cuts us off, and it will cut us off in about 90 seconds, you'll need to call in and be on the phone. The number is 646-716-6135. Whether you want to just listen, or whether you want to talk, or what, be on the in our call list. So go ahead and call. If you don't want to call in, that's fine too. As soon as we're done,
it'll be on the archives.
As soon as we're done, it'll be on the archives, and you'll be able to hear the show in its entirety. We got about
so the way I can go ahead, buddy.
We got about
I'm contemplating here,
and you need to call in. You need to call in now. 646-716-6135. If you don't call in now, you won't be able to call in after 35 seconds. So call in now. Anyway, what were you saying, Thunder?
What I need to do, I need to find one of these backwood churches here, in my this little small town I live in, and tell them how evil this book is and get them behind me and have like 150 people going, Moebius must be stopped. They'd have no idea what they're talking about. But you know how easily some people are persuaded?
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. It'd be fantastic. But you guys don't even know what you're talking about. One of the greatest things that I've seen on that issue is the two magicians in Las Vegas. They had a show on HBO.
The ones with the tigers?
No. Big guy with the long curly hair. He always pulls it back in a ponytail. Very smart, intelligent guys. Penn and Teller.
Oh, yeah.
They had a show. On, it was on HBO or Showtime, called This Is Bullshit. One of the funniest things they ever did is they went to this rally that this college was holding for, save the world, environmental stuff. And they had people signing petitions because they were oxygenating. Look at that. They were oxygenating the hydrogen in water. And they had like 1,500 signatures. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
That wasn't.
These were college. I know. There was 1,500 college students that signed this petition.
That reminds me of Mark Dice. Moebius, are you familiar with him?
No.
Mark Dice is a guy who goes on to, he's one of the people that believes in the Illuminati and all that stuff. I don't know what to think about that. I'm neither for it nor against it. But as far as like believing in it. But he goes in, he lives in California, and he goes out and gets people on camera. He has these petitions. Like, for example, his latest one was getting people to. We just lost Moebius. He'll call back. He can't call back. It's because we're in overtime.
Well, go ahead and finish your thought there, and I guess we're going to have to call it an evening for tonight.
Anyway, he does. His latest one was where he was signing petitions to get Karl Marx to be the Democratic nominee for the next run at president after Obama has finished his term. And people were actually coming up there and signing it. And he has like hundreds, well, not hundreds. He's probably got about at least 30 of these things on his YouTube page, and I'll put that on the Facebook page for the show. But it's hilarious.
Well, on the same aspect, do me a favor. Look up on YouTube if you can find the Penn and Teller signing the petition to stop oxygenating the hydrogen in water.
Yeah, I'll get that.
If you can find it, watch it first. It is so funny right there to watch these kids who are our future right there going, oh, yeah, they can't do that. And I'm just sitting back watching this, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Really?
Moebius has just said to me and on Facebook, he says, they cut me off. It was the Illuminati.
Watch out for the evil eye.
But let's go ahead and wrap it up.
I'll tell you what,
we didn't have one single Spinal Tap moment the entire show until the very end where we lost our guest, and he can't. And because we were in overtime, he can't call back. So, good night, Thunder.
Good night, Will.
And good night to all of our listeners, even though there's nobody listening to us right now, because but they'll hear it on the archive. And we'll see you next week, and everybody have a good one.
All righty, man. Have a good night, man. We'll see you next time.